What's up, everybody? So today I'm going to talk to you all about how to make it as an artist. So when it comes to being an artist, and just about artist of any kind, it gets to where you get a little lost and you don't really know like a list of things to do to kind of get you where you're trying to go. So this list here is a super basic list just to get you started. So the first thing we're going to worry about is making sure that we do not allow ourselves to miss opportunities. So when it comes to being a successful artist, you're not relying on luck. You're actually working towards every goal that you end up achieving, or communicating, or creating a network that works for you. So if you have a coffee shop that you're constantly at when you're doing your creativity, like your creative moments where you're either writing or conceptualizing, it's nothing to interact with the owners or the manager and ask, hey, is it all right if I express my art here? Because you see me every day. Utilize the connects that you're making just from your day-to-day interactions. If you have a place that you usually go to for supplies, ask them if they are interested in collabing with you in any way, shape, or form. So when you do that, you kind of eliminate that whole luck factor. Like when you look at the people who have made it, or even people that are in the process that you might have seen from the beginning, from the ground up, they didn't get where they are just from sitting back and waiting for somebody to ask them, hey, are you ready? No, like they stepped out and they seized the opportunity or created it just by looking for it. So that's the first thing. The next thing is making sure that we are organized. And making sure that we are organized, we are able to be more functional and more productive. So organization, in all honesty, is kind of the hardest part when it comes to artists, because we're so all over the place creating, which is a beautiful thing, but we have to have organization, and organization kind of bleeds out into a couple of more of the rules or steps that I'm going to go into as well, because it kind of creates a boundary for us that allows us to grow and help us focus on the things that matter. So the next thing we have here is making sure that we know how to withstand stress. It is very important that we know how to withstand stress, because when you go through this and you start to focus more on your goals, there are going to be a lot of different stressors, a lot of different stress factors. There you go. And when it comes to stress, making sure that your energy is applied appropriately is very important. And believe it or not, it transitions pretty well into the next point that I want to make, is don't wait for inspiration. So I talk to a lot of artists and I ask them, like, hey, when's the last time you created? Or, what's your catalyst? Like, what drives you to create? And they say, oh, well, I sit around and I wait for inspiration. Well, if you sit back and think to all the times you've been inspired, if you were to count them, towards the days you weren't inspired, you'd see it's not that many. If you sit around and wait for the right environment where creativity is already happening, or you watch a movie, or you hear a song that just hits you different that day because you're emotionally vulnerable, versus if you're actually mastering your craft and trying different things every day, watching videos on YouTube. I mean, you watch videos on everything else, joining groups on Facebook and really indulging yourself in that type of content. You find inspiration in a different way. It'll get to where you wouldn't even want to sleep, because all the ideas will be running through your head, because that's what you've saturated yourself with in your environment with. And those two things go together pretty well, because when it comes to handling stress, if your stress outlet lies within any of these things that can inspire you, you're naturally making yourself better at whatever craft that you're trying to push. No matter what your art is, no matter what you're creating, you're forcing yourself to have an environment of it where it's, what you eat, breathe, and sleep, All right, so these next two are very, very important. When it comes to managing your time, you have got to make sure that with everything that you do, you are managing it in a balanced way. So what do I mean by that? Making sure that you put enough time on the back end. What that means is that out of 100% of your time, you got 70% of it where you're creating, and roughly about 30% where you're spending on the back end. So you're building your clientele list, you're building your network, you're writing things down and organizing and making sure that when you need something or you need to know someone or you're looking for a venue, that you have an actual list that you can go to. Or even if you want to collab with other artists, you know, like you have to spend that time on the back end where you're getting supplies, where you're doing the paperwork, where you're filling out, you know, the business end, if you know, are doing it or not as a business. And making sure that you have a good balance with that. It's about, you know, if you were to split it into thirds, 1/3 of your time would be spent in the back end. And it ties right into this next thing where you build your contact list. Building your contact list is like the single most important thing you can have, because, you know, they say it's not really what you know, it's who you know. That's pretty true, because I don't know how to metal work, but I have a guy that I can contact if I have an idea for something to be built, and he can build it for me. So that way I can take the money that I'm making to reinvest back into the business, and I'm not building it myself. So while I'm still creating in my creative time, he's able to create. I pay him money, and I can go pick it up in my downtime, and then I can get right back to creating, and I'm doing something completely different the following day or the following week, depending on the project. So having a balance of these things, you know, they tie right into organization, because if you're not organized, then it's going to be difficult for you to manage your time in this way. So there's another two things that tie pretty much quite a bit of this together on just how to become a successful artist. Alright, so these next two, even I'm a little guilty of, because I have a tendency to just kind of like just do whatever and keep moving forward. And the first one is quality images. So it kind of sucks to sit and do so much quality work that'd be so awesome for people to see and support, or to buy, or even to want to commission you to do more work, but not having a quality representation of you. Freaking sucks, man. Like, you know, I do this artwork that's really dope to see in person. You got really good texture, and, you know, then all of a sudden you get a picture and it's just like lackluster. You know, the picture shows none of it. Or I don't do a video of it to show the different angles and how it shines, or the texture and how the light hits it. It's just like, you know, you go and you make a song and you get really bad headphones to listen to them, or a really bad microphone to pick up a good voice. And it's like, man, dude, you know, as a customer or as someone that would appreciate the art that you're creating, they wouldn't be excited. They'd be like, oh, this is nice. Do you have anything else? It's like, no, that was my best work. I'm not offended. I'm just gonna cry in the car. You know? So making sure that you have a good quality representation of you is definitely big. The next one I want to bring up is focus. So we talked about organization, we talked about handling stress, but all of that would be nothing without the right focus. Because as I'm running down this list of things, you're going to have to take your time and actually focus on each one of these intentionally. There's not like, you know, oh, well, I'm going to multitask 10 different things all at the same time until I figure it out. No, you take your time and you focus on each one, and you allow yourself to grow and develop it. Then you can add the next one, because you've learned to manage one thing at a time. Focus is very important, because I mean, we have a tendency as artists, we'll get wrapped up in creating, and that is focus. But when it comes to things outside of creation, we don't give it the time of day that it needs. So learn how to redirect that focus towards something else, and make it successful. And then to give it, you know, a little more time to say, well, let's reevaluate and see how I can do it better. So focus is a little, you know, multifaceted in this case, because it's never stopping. It's not like, oh, well, you focus up to an end goal of getting to here or there. It's like, no, you continue to focus and change your focus over and over. But you make sure you give it time too. And then I got 2 more and I'm out of your ear. So the next 2 and final 2 for how to become a successful artist. The sticking to a system. As you can see throughout the points that I've made in this video, if you're taking notes, I'm sure you're noticing that you're kind of creating a system. So when it comes to being successful with focus, to organizing, to your contact list, like, it's going to take quite a bit of sticking to an actual plan. Create a system where, well, Monday through Friday I'm going to create, but Saturday I'm going to take a day off and get my life together. Sunday I'm going to do laundry, probably bathe at least once, you know, for that week, and then I can get back to creating. You know, you can't just lose yourself in your creation and not have the balance of a system. So even if, you know, that's just a schedule. How about, you know, well, this area is for creating, and after I get done creating, I set it in this area over here to the side, and then I have to clean up before I start another project. You know, and creating a system like that, if you look anywhere in the world at any job, every job has a system where from one place feeds into the next, feeds into the next. You know, if you look at fast food, you got the people who stock, or, you know, the people who distribute, the people who stock, the people that thaw the food out, and then you know, the overnight chef, and then you got those that cook the food, then you got the ones that take the money, and then you got somebody else that hands the food off to the customer. You know, that's a system, and it works over and over. So when it comes to creating, no matter what kind of art you're creating, having a system, well, for me, I only create after I've cleaned the house, and that's the only way my mind will be clear. And while I'm creating, if I have 3 or 4 days of creating, I make sure that I have already stocked with a certain type of food that I eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner throughout the entire time I'm creating. I make sure that, you know, the cooking of the food is not time consuming for me. So whether it's microwaved or a hot kettle over some pasta or something, you know, like, or even some oats, you know, it's quick food that isn't taking my time up, so I can be more productive in that moment that I'm being creative. And the last but not least, actually the most important one out of all of this, because throughout trying all these things out, you're going to have some setbacks, you're going to have some failures, but that's how we grow and that's how we learn. So the very last note that I want to make, that is the most important, is to never give up. You never give up, because when it comes to your creation, when it comes to your artistry, it's about more than you. And you know it, that's why you do it, because the people's reaction to your art, that's why you keep creating. That's why it's not about money, and most of the time it's not even about opportunity. It's just about communicating a message with your soul to somebody else's. So never give up on creating. Even if you have to take a break, you can't give up on something that's inside you. So I hope you all enjoyed this video and this helps somebody continue to push. I'll make more videos like this, giving more detailed information on exactly how to create a business around being an artist. Just keep following me, subscribe, and let me know what you think. Peace.